Good evening, folks. Welcome to Cardboard Culture Interview Sessions 2022. I know it's the second week of January. We took a bit of a hiatus, a much-needed hiatus, so Kent and I can recharge, retool, and get ready for 2022. So, welcome to episode 44. So, before we get on to other things, just want to make sure I hope you all had a great holiday. I know some of us are going through a lockdown, so stay positive. We'll get through this, and let's have some fun with our interviews. I want to thank our previous guest, Tim Lincecum, for sharing us his journey on cards and how he came up with the product Slab Strong. It was a truly motivational story, and we really relished the opportunity of watching the show, interviewing him on our show, and you were watching the show. So he definitely has a very inspiring story. So please check him out, support him, and Slab Strong. You can't ask for a nicer guy. So Kent, I want to point out another thing before we can move on, which is we've been creating more and more content. So Kent and I have been posting up box breaks. I've been putting up some stuff like around ComC and Upper Deck EPAC and some EPAC breaks. So we hope you like the content, and if you'd like to see more of it, let us know. And last but not least, next week on January 24th and 25th, we have a double header. We have Canadian broadcasting legend Brian McFarlane of Peter Puck fame coming to interview with us. And of course, we have Tony, I believe it is. Yeah, Tony from the Hobby Vault on 25th. I mean, I've said a lot here. This is really Kent's show. You know, he won't admit it, but this is near and dear to his heart. And I think this will be a fun show for all. So, Kent, I'm going to turn it over to you.
For sure. And for those who don't know Peter Puck was on Hockey Night in Canada, and that's where Brian McFarlane is from. So for those who are younger who may not know who Brian McFarlane and Peter Puck is, that's all. I'm just stating the facts there. So for tonight's guest, we're pleased to introduce you to a young man who has amassed a one-of-a-kind super collection of Tim Lincecum cards, who was actually my favorite pitcher when I was watching the Giants through their World Series run. He has many unique pieces, including a mind-numbingly amount of one-of-one cards. Plus, he has a unique collection. He has a unique connection to me. So please welcome Thomas Micheels to the show.
You're on mute, Tom.
All right.
There you go.
Good. We're good now. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Better than the last couple weeks. So.
Yeah, we're glad to hear that you're feeling better. That's for sure. So Tom, can you give us a little background on whereabouts you are in the U.S.?
So surprisingly, I'm not in San Francisco. I'm in Kansas, Shawnee, Kansas. I grew up here my whole entire life. I've actually never lived in San Francisco. I've never been to San Francisco or California. But I've amassed, like you said, one of Lincecum's best collections in the world. I've been one of his biggest fans for 13 or 14 years. I think this is year 14. So it's been a long time, but we're getting this collection to where we want it. So
your dog agrees.
Yeah, I might go put her. I might go bring her out of the kennel real quick. Just one sec.
That's cool. And while we're doing that, I'm gonna just bring up on screen Rob Lee. He's been checking out our show. Thank you for coming. Dennis is our stalwart. Dennis. He's here every week. And Peeps, want to give a special shout out to you.
Josh.
You did some posting for us, and we got like 10 subscribers overnight. So that's because of your work with Diamond. Forgetting the name right now. Diamond Princess. So please, thank you. I want to thank you for pushing people our way. And last but not least, we have Sanderson to Orr. Hey guys, I know you're both passionate about diversity and inclusion. Tonight in Boston is a great Willie O'Ree had his number retired by the Boston Bruins. That's awesome. We will definitely pick up on that in short order.
All right.
So there you go.
So Tom, how old were you when you got into collecting cards? And was it someone in your family that introduced you to the world of card collecting, or was it simply just by playing sports as a kid?
So kind of both. I played sports as a kid. My first pack was probably when I was 5 years old. I can actually remember it. It's crazy, those things you just remember like it's yesterday, but that's like 20 years ago now. And I can remember going to Walmart, and I collected Yu-Gi-Oh for a while until I was like 5 or 6. And then I remember just liking cards so much that my dad was just like, "Yeah, we're gonna get you into baseball, so it's worth something later on." I was like, "Okay." I started. He bought me a pack of. It was Upper Deck Series 1, I think, in 2011.
Wow.
So it had 4 cards in the pack. I pulled Pujols, Sammy Sosa, Sean Green, and I can't remember the last one, but I do remember most of them. I remember what the cards look like to this day. But
Those are
as
pretty
far
good
as
players.
Lincecum goes, 2008 is when I started collecting him.
Nice, nice. So, speaking of Tim Lincecum, and this is why we have you here on tonight. So why Tim Lincecum versus, say, a player from his draft class that also featured likes of Evan Longoria, Max Scherzer, or even Clayton Kershaw? Why
Really
Tim?
good. It's a very good draft class. So for me, it's a story I haven't really gotten into with a lot of people. For me, I went to growing up. I had really bad vision, and so for me, I grew up at a grade school where pretty much from the start I was kind of an outcast because I had glasses, and I had to use these big, huge, giant sheets of paper for my assignments and to read. And I was the only person that had it. I was essentially the only person that had glasses. I was essentially the only person who was like I was. And so I really got into Lincecum around, I would say it's probably around 4th or 5th grade, because like it sounds so sad, but I did not have any friends. And baseball was essentially it for me. And Lincecum was essentially it for me. And so the reason I got into him was because he's so different, and he's making it work for him. Because no one really pitches like he does. I don't.
No,
think
that's true. That's true.
Those kind of that wind up, his style, the hair, everything, and so not necessarily like I planned it that way. Like, oh, this guy's different, I'm gonna follow him. But kind of like exploring like my psychology from when I was a kid. That was definitely it, because he was so different than everybody else, and he was doing incredible things. And so obviously, naturally, I wanted to, copy that. But yeah, and so then sports came with that. There's so much to it that's made it, so ingrained in my life. I was a right fielder in baseball growing up. I wasn't good, and Lincecum was what got me into pitching. I remember I went up to my sister's boyfriend at the time. They're not married. I told him, like, hey, I want to pitch like Lincecum. I want to try this out, see if I'm good at it, because I could throw hard. And so I was like, you know what? Right field's so boring. I never get balls hit out there. I'm not anywhere close to the star of the show. So let's try pitching. And so naturally, I got into pitching. Pitching changed everything for me. That made me really put me on the map. And I didn't really mimic his windup or anything like that. But I started doing things like him. It was really funny because for me, I was known as a right fielder, and I got put on this new team in 7th grade. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I was at the tryouts, and they had thrown me at first base. They had thrown me at right field, and I was going to make the team, but it was like 15 minutes towards the end of practice, till the end of practice. And I went up to the coach, and I was like, hey, I can pitch. You want me to throw a bullpen with everybody? And he was like, yeah. And so I had developed a curveball, a fastball, and I went up there in the pen, and they were like, wow, this is insane. And so the very next day was our first game, and they had no idea I pitched. This was news to them. And I remember it because they started our ace starter, and then they threw me in at the end of the game to save the game. And I was throwing this curveball at that age that no one knew how to hit it. We weren't like some traveling team, but we were at an age group where they weren't getting taught how to hit curveballs. So I had like 6 or 7 strikeouts in the outing, and
That's
then
awesome.
after that, pitching just started spiraling for me. I pitched in high school, nearly pitched a couple no hitters. Like, it changed the whole entire map for me. So that was also because of him, because I took after him. But
did you wear his jersey number?
I did 55. 55.
Nice.
They did not give me it in high school.
No.
I was very upset. The numbers didn't go up that high on the uniforms, so I was number 31 in high school. A little Greg Maddox throwback, if you will.
It only went as high as 31, huh?
Yeah. Well, no, I think it went up to like 40 or so. They didn't throw it up to 50, but 55. I certainly wasn't good enough to have them like custom make something. Like I never asked that.
So, as Kent's asking you these questions, so I get the honor of asking this question. So, as you start to amass your collection, who is this kind of person you kind of knew who was on YouTube, who kind of also had a Lincecum PC? Whose YouTube channel was it, and why was it important for you?
I think it was like Fast Pitch Fanatic or Slow Pitch Fanatics.
Slow Pitch Fanatic. That'd be me.
Yeah. I watched this video growing up. Slow Pitch, Kent's video series he did. He did a PC showcase of his Lincecum collection, and man, I think I saw that video in 2008 or 9, and my goodness, it would have been 2010 because that's where a lot of his cards were from. When I saw that video, that was really what triggered like a love for the high end stuff and a love for like amassing the collection. And man, I've watched that video probably close to 100 times. It's and like I went back, I think I have it saved on my on like a bookmark on my Google Chrome. So
that's funny. So Eric's kind of heard of him too. I don't know who the Slow Pitch Fanatic guy is.
Yeah, I don't know either.
And Rob Lee says that's great. So give you a second to manage your
my dog is trying to get her 15 minutes of fame. So, all right, we're good. We're good.
No worries. So, how many individual how many individual Lincecum cards do you actually have in your PC?
Okay, so it's changed, and I said we would get into that. Before probably midway through last year, I was at probably, I think the count was at like 1,500 different Lincecums. He has close to 7,000 different cards, which is a very big surprise. I'm looking at both of your faces, like 7,000 cards. That's how everybody is nowadays. But even with him being in that era that he was, 2007 to 2013 was his main gap. It wasn't like it is today. There wasn't 6 or 7 different 101s of each card. Like,
right,
very different. But including plates and 101s, he's got about 7,000 cards. The stat I had up that I loved for a very long time was that I had, of the top around 90 cards, it was top 88 cards that had surfaced of him all time. I had 52 of the 88 total top cards that he had ever had. And like a lot of those, I would say probably like close to like 20 of them are the ones that I actually lost. And like 13 of them were like stuff I chose to lose. And so it's just all part of a plan that I've been going with from day one. But yeah, 52 of the top 88 cards. It was insane to me. And it just kind of like people ask me about it, like, what's that feel like, to get to that point every single day where you can go look at that collection and it's, that great. And it's just like, I don't really think about it that often because it's not something I've done to like, it was never the plan to own like 9 of his top 9 cards. That was never the plan. It's always been something that I've been so obsessed and so in love with collecting his cards that it's just been a blur up to this point. Like it's never, every single day I probably search his eBay listing 10, 15 times a day at very least. The people I've met doing this, the time I've spent doing this, it's all worked out. That doesn't always happen. Obviously, there's some luck in there. Obviously, some things go my way. People help. I've had so much help in all of this. And yeah, it's just something where I'm very appreciative, very blessed. I try to be humble with it, but man, I mean, it's just not something that I planned on at all, especially owning his top card, and that's in here. But
We'll get into that in a
we'll
little
get
bit
to
later.
that, yeah. But yeah, it's never been the plan. It's never been the plan. It's just kind of happened.
Are you going to sadden Kent later with some of his former cards? Or are we planning on that?
I have one of Ken's card, and it's the one I wanted most out of everything. And I had to grab it from overseas. Believe it or not, owner was in Taiwan, so the guy was gracious enough. While we're on the subject.
So I'm pretty sure I know which card it is. I was the previous owner of that card.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
you got
see
it. You got it.
Taking me out a little bit here. So, and that's the main course, the dessert right here. The majestic patch. So, I told a couple people I found that card a couple years ago. I was just on Instagram and I saw this gentleman's collection. Scrolling through it, I even asked Kent, I think in 2018 or 2019, like, hey, you got any receipts from that? Do you have any eBay messages back and forth with whoever you sent that to? And he's like, no, I tried looking. It's, I can't find anything about it. I don't know who I sold that to, if it was on eBay or not.
Yeah, and the issue too was the original selling information I had was on my old laptop, which died.
Oh,
so all that information was lost.
And so, anyways, I saw it on this page scrolling through, and I was like, wait a second, oh my goodness. And so, obviously, it wasn't like a do or die thing for me, but it was something I continue to work on. That's something that I recommend to all collectors, is never count, like, okay, that sounds so cheesy, but never count yourself out of any card, no matter what the person says, no matter, unless it's me with the Bowman Chrome Auto, because that thing's going with me to the grave. I've turned down a ridiculous offer on that card that we'll talk about later, that you guys will probably try and call my parents or a sane asylum. We'll get to that. I've not really told anybody about that whole story of that card, but that card's going to stay with me forever. But any other card, again, not necessarily me, but any other collector, just treat it as it's possible. It's definitely possible. And there's certain ways that I've learned to deal with that. I'm touching on that, like, checking in with people. So I kept checking in with this guy. And eventually he was like, yeah, I'll sell it to you as long as this courier that I have can ship it to you. I was like, oh, cool. And so, yeah, absolutely. After a while, he sold it to me. He had this really famous hobby shop in Taiwan. They mailed it to me through DHL. DHL is a good service. We'll get to, but they mailed it to me, got it safe and sound, and she's here. And not only do I have this one, I have actually two of those.
There you go.
It's so hard with this camera because it's the opposite.
You have to go back out more.
Like, I'm moving it left right now, but anyway, I have those two, and those are the three. So I'm missing one of the three.
Yeah.
And then I have the big guy, the one of one.
Yeah, there you go, the one of one.
Yeah.
Which surprisingly to me, Tom, they didn't put the majestic logo patch in that one. You'd think.
I've seen a lot of those cases where they kind of messed that up, but it's something. I got this card in, I want to say 2014, the World Series year. It was probably my biggest purchase to date, or to that date. 1 second, my dog got a hold of a remote. So,
yeah, you don't want
that. the hazards and enjoyment doing live shows. Yes, Dennis, player collecting is fun. I've done a lot with my Wendell Clark PC. I haven't done a lot in a long time, but I had to relax my OCD with the Wendell Clark collection, so I stopped looking on eBay for it. What NHL team is it? Lincecum? Yeah, he played on the San Francisco New York Giants. No, I don't know. I'm kidding. No, he's not an NHL team.
The Rangers, the New York Rangers, for a little bit.
Yes. Let's go back to the question there. So, how many of your PC cards are one of ones?
I'd say around 40 right now.
41 individual one of ones, huh? Wow, look at you.
And 12 of them are supers. 9 of them are logomans. And as we said, 9 of them are his top 9 one of ones, 1 through 9. And that was something I finished out recently with a 2007 Exquisite Quad Patch Auto 101, which is his only. I didn't talk about it a lot when I was making the deals. I work really private when I'm working on acquiring cards.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That's
understandable.
Very competitive. I mean, there is countless stories we can get into today, but man, with this one, it's his only rookie patch auto, one of one card. He doesn't have any other rookie patch autos that are one of one. He only had the Exquisite Quad Patch auto from 2007 Upper Deck, and then he had a dual auto with Matt Cain that was a relic in that. But that's it. He doesn't have any other rookie patches. And so this one, okay, it only got like 180 likes or something when I posted it. A lot of people don't know the point. A couple of my cards got 400 likes, I guess, that are way below it. But not everybody knows the history of all of his cards.
For sure.
This one would be coupled with his one of one super auto, back to back 1 and 2. In my opinion, obviously that's all arbitrary. That's all subjective. But it helps when you have the top 9, because then you can kind of just rank them yourself, because no one else can have a card and be like, well, mine's going to be more than that. You're not going to offend anybody. You just have the top 9. So
true, and you can rearrange them
as
long as you want.
Yeah, makes it a little easier to get a list in there.
True, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point.
Yeah.
So out of your one of ones and the cards you mentioned so far, how many are completed rainbows?
Well, here's the sad part. None of them are now. I told you guys that I went through, and it's kind of my MO these days. If something's not one of one, and if something's not like a corner piece of what I'm trying to do, the way I tell people is this: when I, hopefully it's not soon, Lord willing, but when I'm gone, whether that's tomorrow or when that's 90 years old, someone's gonna have to go get Lincecum cards out of my mailbox. That's gonna be a thing. There's no way I'm ever stopping it. I don't see it ever happening, and so that's kind of like the hand I play with. If something really important comes up, I will get rid of less important things to get it, and just continue down the line. Just go through the order, get everyone on base. And with me, so the most impressive thing I've probably ever done was complete his triple rookie rainbow, his triple Bowman rookie rainbow. He had 2 cards in his rookie year of Bowman. That would be the 217 non-autographed card, which is they're coming out. They're coming out. So he had this one, which is the 217 non-autograph, and then in the same set he had the super auto.
Yeah. And
then for some reason, no one knows why. I think it was just kind of like a cash grab for Bowman, but they threw him in Bowman draft that year.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you're right.
EDP 11. And so with all that being said, I had each of these rainbows, all 3 of them, even the reds, the master rainbows. And so I did have that for a while. And then came up 2 cards last year. And 1 second, I don't think I child-proofed this room. Come here.
She's just so everybody knows she's a pup.
She also knows that you're on camera. This is the most optimal time to bug you. While Thomas is doing that, I was just mentioning about my Wendell Clark PC. So yeah, I had a crazy PC. I took PC SP Game U Supremes and I pared them down to only the choice pieces. Like, so similar to you, I've taken my PC and I said, okay, look, if I'm gonna go to the wall and at 100 miles an hour, I want this card with me. That's the card I want. If it was like not the card I want to die with, I didn't want it in my collection. So I started thinning it out. And I'm doing more and more of that the older I get, so the less and less I have, and more quality. So I'm actually looking for more quality than I am quantity these days.
Yep.
So it's an interesting conundrum.
Yeah. So going back to, sorry, I actually, she got a hold of a video game. It was not a controller; it was a video game. I don't know how, but anyways, I side with that too. Quality over quantity. I've done it for so long. I've owned so many cards, and so anyways, where we were at, I had to. So I sold a lot of that rookie rainbow, and for one reason, and that would be this card.
Ooh, look at that beauty.
Nice.
And also,
that's the logo, man.
And also, here's the camera again.
There you go. Oh, that's some Dynasty, Topps Dynasty. That's awesome.
2015 Dynasty and 2020 5-star. So with these two cards, these were owned by two collectors that don't give stuff up. Very, very rarely they give stuff up. And I had to. I went, like I said.
Tom, were they Lindsay collectors or just baseball collectors? Oh, they were Lindsay collectors as well.
Hardcore ones. They're ones that won't sell stuff under any circumstance. So you have to wow them with offers and stuff like that. And so, what I ended up doing was I sold some cards I didn't want to sell because I started thinking that it was very possible for me to acquire these if I just kind of blew them away. And with the competition I had, I saw that window kind of closing. I was like, okay, before other people start moving on these things, I need to like go in for a sneak attack here. And so I ended up selling all the Bowman rainbow, other than the 3 supers, obviously.
Right.
And then some other cards that I still kind of kick myself for, but it was all part of the plan, as they say. But so with these two Logoman autos, the competition was huge. He only has 4 Logoman autos, and I already had one of those, which is the Topps Unique.
Oh, I remember that one. I remember that one.
Question: How many hardcore Lincecum collectors are out there?
That you're aware of.
So for about 10 years, it was just me and one other person, and now there's about 4. And the person that I bashed heads with all the time, he kind of quit, and so I kind of bought him out of most of his cards. And so, again, to this card, this is his first logo, man. For the historians on the podcast, this would be the equivalent to one of his holy grails. It's his first autograph logo, man. And so I had one of the 4, and then these 2 fill out the other 2 of the 4. And so, anyways, one of the collectors in Michigan, really cool dude. He's a Bow Sox collector on Instagram, I believe. He collected Lincecum through the golden years, we'll call it, with me.
Okay.
His name's Mitchell, great guy again. And then Andy owned the 5-star Logoman auto. He's been collecting for a very long time. Sad story. So with Andy, so not sad for Andy at all. We'll give a hand to Andy. He got the Logoman auto for this one. He got this one for $1,600. And that is $5,000 under market for that card, which is very surprising. That's like a Trout Logoman on it, like the equivalent. But with the competition that's in Lincecum and with how little of those autographed Logoman cards he has, the sky's the limit on a lot of those. And so anyways, I wanted to get at least one of them, because once I started digging and talking to each one of the owners, too many cards. Once I started talking to each of the owners about these cards, people found out, because I was making offers that were so good that they were like, well, we need to bring more. They're smart. They need to bring more people into the market. So they told it, hey, Thomas is offering me so-and-so amount of money on this. I'm thinking about selling it. What's your offer? That's kind of the dilemma I ran into. And so I lucked out. I lucked out a lot, because my offer was matched on this card. And the owner kind of knew me and my story so well that after a while he was like, you know what? That other guy just keeps matching you. I'm just going to sell it to you. And he gave me a price. We just agreed on it. I was literally driving. I was not texting and driving. I stopped at a stoplight and I checked my phone and I saw, hey, if you want it for X amount of dollars, it's a deal. Just send it over today. And I was like, okay, that's one off the map. And so then I started doing more inventory. And this is when I sold the Bowman Auto Rainbow,
Right.
A number of those cards. And I was like, hey, I got that for a good deal, in my opinion. I might be able to get both of these suckers. And so I started messaging the other guy. And after a while, I came to a deal with him. I gave him a king's ransom for this card. But at the end of the day, that was the goal. Those cards I gave up to get it, I can get those whenever. This card, the window was closing on it. And so that's kind of a tip I have for most people. And again, no card is ever not for sale. And one thing bottled into that is it's something I put on Instagram earlier this year. When you have a situation like that and someone has a card you want, and for darn sure it's not for sale, it's going to be nearly impossible to move it from them. You don't start out with, hey, would you sell it? That's the worst thing you can possibly do. You start out with an offer, because then you put it in their head what they can have instead of that card. That's how you have to do it, especially with people who PC players. You have to come out with an offer. This guy, I made the mistake myself. I kept asking him, hey, would you move the auto logo? Hey, would you move the auto logo? And sometimes he'd be feisty. He'd be like, no, absolutely not. Call me a name or something. And I understand it. It's annoying. But one day I came up and I was literally like, hey, would you do this much money for it? And he's like, dang, let me think on it. And I was like, huh? Okay, now we're seeing results. That's what we want. So, with those two cards, 3 of the 4 auto logo mans. I think that's one of Kent's favorite stats. My logo mans. But one left, 2020 Topps Dynasty. If I managed to get that card, that would round out the top 10 cards of all time. It's not surfaced yet, so it's still in a box somewhere.
That's interesting. No, that's definitely really cool. Kent, I think we're over to you in questions.
Yeah. So speaking of that, is there any other rare Lincecum cards that are out there that you're still looking to add to your collection? I know of one that's in Japan, but I don't know if we'll ever get that one.
Yeah, so I would say the auto logo man is probably number 1 on the list now. Behind that, he does have a Allen and Ginter cabinet relic that has one of the entire 5s from the back of his jersey on the card, and the 5 is signed. I know where that is. I've talked to that guy a number of times, and it's not for sale. One time he told me it wasn't for sale, and then I did exactly what I told you. I just went to him with an offer. I think he bought the card for $1,000, which is, I mean, with the Lincecum market nowadays, which is probably surprising to most of your viewers. Like, I think people are going to be opening their eyes searching on eBay. Like, what? Why is this guy have such valuable cards? Half of that
me
answer
included.
Me. Yeah,
me included. Yeah. I don't know much about the baseball, right?
Yeah, but I offered him. I think $3,000 for it, and he just didn't respond. So I was like, and so after that, I just stopped messaging him. I'm like, if that person doesn't respond to that, they're probably 1, mad, and then 2, upset. So I'm gonna stop there. I might dip in there once again, but hey, you never know. It might just pop up on eBay. He might just not even come to me. He might just throw it up on
True.
eBay.
That's true. It's true.
By the way, we have a question. So Dennis is asking, how many autos of the Freak do you own?
That's a good question. Being that, like we said, I don't do low end very much anymore. It's something that would really surprise you. But hold on, I can make up for it. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12. 12.
12, Dennis. 12.
To be fair, seven of those cards are probably 5,000 plus. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's my thing. I would rather have something like this than like a full-on like rainbow of the cards behind it. That's just me. That's just a personal preference. There's people out there that would rather have quantity over quality, and that's fine. That's totally fine. You need to do in this hobby what makes you happy. Just because I came up here and had his top 9 cards, I told you what's worked for me, what's made me happy. That's not going to make you happy. Whatever's making you happy the most, do it. But just make sure you're getting your money's worth. That's my biggest thing in the hobby. I don't make a lot of moves without knowing for exact sure it's the right thing to do at the right time. And that's what makes me the most happiest. If you see a card that you just like the looks of, it's numbered to 10, it's just going to make your week, make your month, go do it. There's no wrong move in the hobby. It's you make the collection that you want to make. But for me, in my position, doing this for 14 years, I figured out that these type of cards that go on the shelf, that make people flip out of their chairs, that's the one I like the most. It makes me flip out of my chair. So that's the one I like the most. But do it in life, as long as it's not hurtful, as long as it doesn't hurt others, as long as it's healthy, do it. Because obviously life is short. And so that's my best advice I can give to anyone. Obviously it's very cheesy, but it's to the point. Do what you want.
I agree. And I definitely can resonate with that. Kent, I lost where we are. You go for it, man.
No, I still know where we are. I was just going to say to my friend in Japan, who Tom knows, I'm hoping that one day he will part with the other logo man that he needs. And I'm not calling him out by name, so I won't mention him by name, but you know who you are when you watch this video, to help this guy out, Tom, so he can get that other logo man to add to his PC. And that's all I'm going to say. That's it. That's all I'm going to say about that.
All I'm going to say with that is I'm sorry I've messaged you so much about it. And I really like your collection. I'm not buttering you up. That's not what I'm doing. But my handle is right there at Project 55 Craven. If you have, if there is a chance you had a 2012 museum collection logo man of Lincecum, maybe we can make a deal on it. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not gonna bug you about it. But I like the help there, Kent. I appreciate that.
It's one of those cards I feel should be deserving in your PC. Not that I don't think it's deserving in his PC, but he's mainly a hockey guy, so that card should eventually.
Well, if anything, you can think about it like this: he has a YouTube video that he showed in 2012 where he pulled it. It's not on video, but he made this really cool video on YouTube. Again, I'm not mentioning his name, but he made it where he pulled it, and I probably generated ad revenue on that video for him with how much I watched it. So maybe we can call it even. I guess I don't know. Yeah, that guy has an insane collection. I mean,
yes, he does. Yes, he does.
For days, you can just scroll through his page. Unbelievable.
So, Tom, at what point in your journey of collecting Lincecum, how long was it that you got into deciding that maybe it's not about the quantity, but it's more about the quality?
That's a very good question. So we've talked about my preference, but we don't know like how it kind of got there.
Right.
I just do it so much to where it's kind of like any job that you start at. You go through the training. I collected for a couple years. You have your likes, you have your dislikes, and it's a learning process as it goes. And so I would say, like I said, there was a time where I just wanted all of his cards. I just wanted to steamroll through all of his cards. And then life kind of hit. And it was just like, things get expensive.
Sure.
And expensive is kind of a different term for a lot of people. Expensive for some people is $200. Expensive for some people is $1,000. For me, I just got out of college. I graduated from Kansas State University. Go Cats. I don't know if odd chance we'll have some K-State viewers. I knew a few people from Canada when I went to Kansas State. But I graduated from Kansas State. I worked a couple different jobs after college, and I went from I accomplished quite a bit while I was in college. Like the best card, obviously, that I have was this one, and
Sure.
I got that my junior year of college, my sophomore year of college.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the time where I was living off of Tostino's pizzas and ramen noodles and granola bars. Like, that's a time in my life where I just didn't have much to work with. But I think that kind of seeing that, where I would take portions of my collection and try and turn it into something else and level up with it, I think that really started to play into my head around 2016 or so. And then once we got to 2019, I filled so many holes. Filled so many cards. I wanted bat barrels, bat knobs, laundry tags. I got everything I possibly wanted. And it's a great segue into this, is 1,000,001. And I started realizing, after I had everything I possibly wanted, I want more. And I think that's the way a lot of people's minds operate. Not that that's a bad thing or a good thing. It's just kind of what you do with it. But
yeah, for sure,
one is kind of my motto now, where I essentially had the million. I had all the cards I wanted. I had, like I said, 55 of the top 88 cards of his all time. And I was still waking up the very next day saying, man, where's this one at? Like, is that guy selling that yet? Or go on to eBay. And there was, I would go to my card shop. This was after this again. This an example I'll use. I've told a couple people about this. I was at my card shop, and I had binders of Lincecum where it was every single Lincecum card ever. It wouldn't be 7,000. It was all up to like /5. But I had 5 binders where I had every card in checklist order on every single page. And any card that I was missing in that order was a missing spot on the page. And I had all of them mapped out across 5 binders. 2006, because that was his first prospect cards, all the way to 2021 now. And so I had that going. And so there was a point that I realized, and honestly, I can actually concretely answer your question. It was in 2020, at the end of the year, where I was trying to figure out where I spent money, what I got, and I realized, I was like, I spent over $1,000 on base cards of Lincecum this year. Over $1,000. And there's some cards I missed that, how much did they cost? $1,000, where they're one-of-one cards. And so I was thinking, man, I spent over $1,000 on base cards this year. I missed out on a laundry tag. I missed out on what have you. But I was like, wait a second. What am I doing here? If I'm planning on collecting till I'm 90 years old and I'm on AARP, like, why am I going for all these base cards when I need to go after the tough stuff first? And so after that, I was like, man, I need to figure out how to unload some of this collection. I need to figure out how to prepare for these other cards that could come up. And then I stopped losing the cards I wanted. And so then I was like, well, okay. So for right now, and like I said, I mean, he started getting back in products in 2020, like Top Sterling is in top. I want all these cards. There's not a card of him that I don't want. Like the goofiest card I have of him is probably a Panini 2013 card where they animated him as a kid, and it's like the worst looking card that I've ever seen in my entire life. But I wanted it. I still wanted it, and it just goes back to 1,000,001. People, especially in the hobby, need to have a plan, because that's how you're going to be the most happy if you have a plan. I've never been one that could talk myself out of, like, I lost that card. I'm a very competitive person, very competitive, especially with something like this that's essentially 14 years of work in my life. And so I stopped being able to talk myself out of, like, saying, like, oh, well, I wanted this card. I couldn't have predicted that card popping up on eBay. Like, I had to get these cards. No, I tell it how it is to myself. I could have won that card had I been more frugal with my money. And so that's something that's been a harsh reality to me, not being able to get every card I want, but also a very, very profitable one, because we're seeing me lose less cards that I don't have to have, but I really, really would like to have. And so with that being said, it was probably 2020 where I realized, yeah, quality over quantity is a huge deal in this hobby. Sorry for talking so much, but just anyone watching this, look at your habits. Look at the habits of, like, what cards you have, what cards you look at on a daily basis. That if you're for instance, if you're a Steph Curry collector, you have a jumbo patch auto of Steph Curry to 10. How much is that card being pulled out of your box? How much are you interacting with that? How much does that mean to you? And what are you missing out by not, selling it, trading it? Like, explore your options. But at the same time, sentimental, plays into things. There's a whole lot of different angles. But
yeah, they say in business, never get emotional, right? On your investment. That's hard with cards. It's hard with cards. You get emotional.
Absolutely.
And the earlier just a few minutes ago, you're saying your ARP. You're referring to a retirement plan. I thought immediately auto rookie patch when you said that. So it does apply. But it's funny because I'm like, auto rookie? No. He's talking about retirement. Never mind.
Yeah.
But it still fit. They still fit.
Good. Yeah, and I'll have a TV dinner. I'll have, like, a caretaker. I'll have the oatmeal soup in my bowl, and then I'll have my grocery list. It'll be, prune juice, rice, chicken, a Lincecum 2013 Topps Chrome or Red Refractor or something like that.
You're gonna have that when your grandkids are like, oh, he's talking about the cards again, the same card.
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know if I guess I have to pass it down, right? So I don't.
You don't have to. You just pass down the stories. You don't have to. Sorry, Kent. I didn't mean to take over. Go ahead.
No. It's actually I'm throwing it back to you, Ameet, because you're gonna ask Tom about being a collector and how it's being pricey.
Oh yeah, thanks for directing me, because I'm clearly not in tune with the list tonight. So you touched on this a few times, and you touched on it just a few minutes ago about being a super collector is pricey, right? You just talked about how you have to imagine that you're trading. What are you getting rid of? And you talked about that. So I'm going to go to the next question here, which is, what would make you say no? I can't do this. What's that level in your head? You're like, I just have to pass because I just can't do this.
That's a really good question. That's something I should have done recently. I purchased his 2007, like we said, the RPA, the 101 RPA. And I overpaid for that card. A lot of people would agree. That card cost me over $10,000. And what is it worth? I would say 6 or 7. And so that's not a crazy overpay. But at the same time, it's definitely something I could I could have planned better, but but that's part of the point. So like, obviously there's people that over evaluate cards. When that's the case, you say no, and that's why it's so important to know who you're going up against. Because for me, I know all the players that are going to go for a card when it pops up. And so, and I kind of get a feel of what they'll spend on something, because I know their habits. I see what they have in their collection. Are they going to be interested in this? And so then it's just kind of a thing where, like, say someone offers me like $4,000 for a crazy Lincecum card, and I say no because I'm like, there's no way these other people are going to go to that. And once they don't, they're going to come down off the price. It's just kind of, it's kind of like a game. Business is definitely like a game. But at the same time, that's where it bothers a lot of people, especially when something really good makes its way onto eBay. And it's all invisible. You don't really know who's really looking for the card and who's craving what at one point. And so there's the price of a card. And so there's definitely a point that I personally can go to where I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to go for that card. But at the same time, it's just how important is it to you? And so we've had a number of times in my collecting days where I've overpaid for cards. And overpay for me doesn't have like a very negative connotation. If I say I overpaid for a card like I did about 4 minutes and 30 seconds ago, that wasn't me feeling terrible about it. I feel great about that. I feel awesome about it. I'm like, hey, this was the goal. We got the goal done. Yeah. I can have that money for whatever, but I only live once, and the price is what someone pays, and it's really, if somebody wakes up one day and they were to challenge me on one of these cards when I was going for it, we'd have a different story. I would have paid more, or I would have paid less. But for me, it just goes into sentimentality. It goes into your goals. I don't think you should, like, if anyone out there, I mean, everyone's probably overpaid for a card. I don't think you should feel upset about it.
Yeah, I've been down that road.
Everybody in this hobby has overpaid at one point. And so it's just such a loose term where an overpay isn't necessarily a loss, especially in a sports card hobby, right? Because if your player's still playing, you buy a Tom Brady rookie for $1,300, he wins 7 Super Bowls. I mean, you make money. That's the thing about these cards, and that's relative to like other gaming cards like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and all that. There isn't that much of an influx because those are two very different things. But yeah, I don't think that anyone should necessarily feel bad if they overpay for a card. It's such a statement. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So since you have such passion for your Lincecum cards, and I was thinking like a natural evolution for your collection, I see you had some graded ones there. Mm-hmm. Would you ever do a set registry?
Yes and no. If I became rich, yes, because if I became rich, if I go buy a lotto tonight and I'm rich, first of all, I'm going to give you guys a bunch of money for your hockey cards. If that did happen, Kent, I don't want you coming back to collect Lincecums. I don't need more. I don't need more
more competition.
I saw how good you were at it the first time. I don't need that back. But for me, I just lost the train of thought. What was the question?
I said, would you ever do a set registry because you have some creative
set registry? Yeah. So that was another point for me in my collecting days where there was at one point where I collected PSA 10s. I love PSA 10s. You cannot tell me that a PSA 10 isn't one of the most aesthetically pleasing things you can possibly look at. But it's great, and I like BGS too. I like all of them, other than the ones that are popping up that you can just kind of like squeeze the case and the card pops out. Like I don't really like, or like I think SGC was found that they had like jagged edges on the insides of their molds and stuff like that. It's kind of sloppy. Their new holders look great in my opinion, but there's been a couple I've seen where it's just like, yikes. I mean, that's going to damage the card. If you guys aren't familiar with what I'm talking about, if you take like an SGC case, it has the black. People have found that there's like plastic fringes on the inside of the cards. So if the card slips back and forth, it's going to like scrape the edges in the graded holder. So,
okay.
A couple things I've seen where that's been the case. But set registry is awesome. I've seen so many people with such great set registries, especially at Lincecum. I've seen some in the past where people have nearly his whole entire rookie set.
Really?
Yeah. I think he has something like 500 different rookie cards, give or take. And I've seen some people that have like 300, 400 in that set registry. So would be really cool. But for me, like we've said, the main cash grab for me comes from 101s, and I've honestly done a lot of what I want to do. I honestly don't think it'll be news to any of my followers on Instagram. You're probably not going to see very much from me this year. Like I said, the 101 RPA cost me a lot of money. It cost a lot of my collection, and that was really the biggest goal. The only thing you'll see is if that logoman auto pops up. Then you won't see anything because all this little shell where no one knows that I exist, but I'm talking to whoever owns it. And
is that the one in Japan?
Strategizing. No, it's not.
No.
2020 Dynasty.
Yeah.
But maybe I need to open some of it, I guess. But maybe I'll break some of it. I've been doing some breaking on my channel. Maybe 2020 Dynasty. I need to find some cases or something, and then
I bet you it's still sitting in a case somewhere.
I think it has to be. With his cards, I don't think it's something where someone pulls it and they're like, yeah, I'm going to keep this. Like I think that especially most people with a high end product like that, you go spend $500 at the local card shop, or if you buy a very expensive spot in that break. I don't think you hit a Lincecum logoman auto and just instantly think, man, my PC has been needing this. So I don't think.
Because usually they'll try to recoup their money. So.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially with a logoman auto. I mean, especially if it's the case where you're buying a box or a case, you're going to have to sell that because you're going to get one logoman auto in the case, if anything, and you're going to need to sell it to recoup your money if it's not the player. I.e. Trout, Ohtani, Harper, those kinds of names that I never collected. So, which is something that me and my card store owner joke about. Because he told me the other day, he was like, man, what if you would have collected Trout? And I was like, yeah, I don't think I'd be working these days if I would have put all this energy into Trout. But I definitely wouldn't be as happy as I am. So that's
See, there you go. You wouldn't be as happy. There you go.
That's true. Okay, so besides yourself out there and others are collecting Lincecum, what is your relationship with other Lincecum collectors? And you mentioned you're friends with some of them, but are there a couple of arch nemesis that you still have?
Like I said, my main rival, he quit a while back. I wouldn't really call any of them rivals. That really sounded arrogant when I said that. I did not mean it like that.
All good.
Not in the slightest. I had to clear that up very fast. All great collectors, all great guys. I'll mention SF Giants 49ers fan. I think her name is Kayla. She's a great collector. Brett, Brett's a great dude.
Yes, I know Brett because Brett has reached out to me as well.
Cool. The Lincecum Museum 55 on Instagram. I know a couple people that don't have social media that collect Lincecum. Some guys overseas. Shout out. I don't even know if he'll see this. I'll email it to him. My friend Yama in Taiwan. No, he's in Japan. And then my other friend Michael, or his name's Chang. He lives in Taiwan. And both those are really good friends. I've known them for a while. What was really cool was when I got my Holy Grail, I didn't tag anyone in the post. I posted on Twitter. I made a tweet and I said, "Dreams do come true," and I had a picture of the card. And Chang, all the way in Taiwan, must have had someone pass it down the grapevine. I didn't even know he had a Twitter. And he responded to the post. He had a Twitter. He was like, "Dude, congrats, Tom. I didn't know you got this." I was like, "Oh my gosh, this made it all the way to Taiwan." Like, that's awesome. Because Lincecum, very famous overseas. Very famous overseas.
Why is that?
So many people. I don't know. I really don't know. I think
He's part Asian. He's part Asian. He's part Asian. He's part
he
Asian.
is Filipino. Yes. He's Filipino, half Filipino.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So this is the year of his first year of eligibility in the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts, unbiased, that he should belong in the Hall?
He's not going to be in the Hall. Sorry, she found something else. Flash drive. He's going to fall off the ballot probably this year. It's sad, but again, for me, like, I don't want to say it bothers me, but I hate to see players being held accountable for if they make the Hall or not. Obviously, for him, he was a huge change of my entire life. Someone, I don't want to say saved my life. He didn't save my life by any means, but he is one of the biggest parts of my happiness in life. And for me, I mean, obviously he'll make the Giants Hall of Fame.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really cool. They retired. They retired. They've technically retired his number, which I love. The Giants don't retire numbers unless you make the Hall of Fame. And so with him, they have not given his number out to anyone yet. It was chicken noodle soup for the soul in 2015 when we acquired Matt Moore. I think he was playing. He wasn't on the Rays at that point. I think he was on the Rangers. We acquired Matt Moore in a trade at the trade deadline. Matt Moore is number 55. And so I knew that. I'm actually a fan of Matt Moore. And when he got picked up by us, I said, "Oh, wow." It was a story. The storyline was Matt Moore goes to the San Francisco Giants. But to me, it was like, wait, what are they doing with number 55? And apparently he got to the clubhouse and they were like, "Yeah, we can't give you number 55. And he was like, "I understand completely." They were like, "We are very fond of that number. It's a huge part of our franchise. Can you do 51? He said yes. So Matt Moore wore number 51. And so they have not given out 55 to anyone since Lincecum. So that's one of the things where his story is just so different. And a lot of people, when they think of him, think of the fall off. And all I think about is the whole entire story from beginning to end. The guy, the thing no one talks about is he never stopped trying. I love a mantra of never giving up. Of never giving up. My favorite football player, Russell Wilson, that's the first place I saw it. Never give up. Cards are down. Always keep positive. Always try hard. Always. It's so cheesy, but you get it going in your mind, and it helps you through so many things. And so that's, repetition is his thing. He keeps that going. Don't give up. Don't give up. The same thing with Lincecum. He never gave up. Obviously, he got cut by the Rangers at the very last point that he was in, playing baseball, but he was struggling. He got done with 2015. He had hip surgery. No one was picking him up straight off waivers. He had this bullpen where all the MLB teams showed up to. He worked extremely hard. He spent money on his craft. He went to Driveline Baseball in Seattle for so many years. He's done every single thing he possibly could to get back to the majors. And a lot of people don't see that. A lot of people don't know that part of the story of how hard he's worked. And last time we saw him was with the Rangers system. And then even after that, he made an appearance at a Giants game on Bruce Bochy's retirement. And even then, this was 2019, I believe, Bochy's last year. And even then they asked him, like, "Hey, Tim, how are you enjoying retirement?" He's like, "I'm not retired. I'm still trying to work at this. And we were like, what? And he's probably retired now. He's on the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I would figure, yeah.
But it wouldn't surprise me if he's still working out at Driveline, and if he's still kind of like, okay, because he's like 36, 35 now. He was born in 1984, so that's 16. He's 38, right? 1986. Yes. Yeah, so he's 38. Okay, so he's probably done. But at the same time, it was probably very recently that he was going to hang up the cleats, because at the last time we saw him in 2019, he was like, yeah, I'm still trying to get back to the majors. I'm still working on everything. But the velocity just wasn't there. He lost the velocity. And in this league, you have to be so good.
Well, yeah, and considering what he was throwing, the pitches he was throwing, you need the velocity behind those.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, man, like, you saw it. Because when he was on the Angels for a while, he went to the American League. And it's just such a craft there with hitting, and it's so hard. It's so hard. Like, just even looking from comparing like the time he was in the league to how like analytical it is now, it is remarkably hard to be good in the majors, and let alone to pitch in the majors. And so we saw it when he was on the Angels. He got shelled a bunch. He had a couple good games, but at that point, there was such a learning curve he wasn't there for, where it didn't work out. I think the Giants didn't want him back last time when he was 2016, 2015 area. Mm-hmm. I remember it was really interesting, just a geek thing to bring up, because he was registering 94 on the gun. And that was big for him, because if we remember, last time he was on the Giants, he was throwing about 89 to 90 miles an hour at most. And so I remember there was a report that came out that he was throwing 94, 95 miles an hour again. And so that was getting the hype up again. And then everyone was like, okay, were the Giants going to sign him again? Because, that would, fire up the fans and everything. And the Giants came out and were like, yeah, so he's throwing 94, 95, but it's off a turf mound. It's not off, sand. It's not off of clay. And so that was what really worried them. And then obviously once he got in the games, he was more 91, 92 kind of area. And so that was just something that's so interesting to me, how some teams didn't notice that and some teams did. Like, just something geeky that I was kind of looking into when he was making that run back.
But, cool. Let me just check where we are. So over to you, Kent.
So Tom, have you ever thought about either reaching out to Tim Lincecum and let him know that you're a huge fan of his and collect his cards? Ever thought about that?
I did. I don't know the song it's from, but it's either a song or a poem from at one point, but so many letters I never sent. I don't know what that line is from, but so many letters I typed up in my day I never sent.
I
never sent them. I probably wrote close to 13 different letters to Lincecum. They're all still on my laptop. One of them sent, and this was in 2020. Tyler Wagner is a big card collector. Do you guys know who Tyler Wagner is? No. He's in the Rangers system. Now I think he's out of baseball now, but he was actually big buddies with Lincecum when he was on the Rangers. And so Tyler Wagner, I saw he liked a couple of and he's verified. That's why I noticed it. He liked a couple of my card posts of Lincecum. I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. And so then eventually one day he DMs me and he was like, hey, love the Lincecum collection. It's really impressive. I enjoy following you. And he wanted to buy a card. He did. And little did he know I'm very hard to deal with when it comes to buying cards from me, especially at that time. I was collecting them all. But yeah, I had some Prism gold refractors of Lincecum to 10. And so Tyler really wanted one of them. And I was really going for the sets. So I was like, I can't really sell it. I mean, I'm going for the sets. And I had his first gold Prism of Lincecum. Not a very valuable card, but $80 to $100 roughly.
Sure.
And I started thinking I was like, wait a second, I can make a deal with this guy. I was like, hey, Tyler, I kind of briefly told him like how much it meant to me and like Lincecum meant to me and stuff. And I was like, why don't we do this? I'll give you his first gold prism for free, as long as you. I asked him, do you have a way to contact Lincecum? And he said, yes, I have his email. And I was like, okay, well, I'll give you the gold prism that you want for free if you courier a letter to him from me. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And so I wrote a one-page letter to Lincecum, essentially just explaining everything we talked about today. I was like, hey, you made a huge impact in my life. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have got into business. I wouldn't have gotten a degree. I wouldn't have enjoyed baseball growing up. I wouldn't have all these friends that I do. Life would have been kind of miserable without it. And so I told him my whole story. I was like, hey, and it wasn't me wanting something from him. I wanted a response. I didn't get one. I'll just blow the whole suspense for you guys. I didn't get a response. But the way I wrote the letter, it was close-ended. It was because the guy didn't owe me anything. I have all of these cards. I've amassed all of this. I've spent 14 years of my life on this. That's for me. I have, it wasn't, this guy doesn't owe me anything. And that's like, I don't try, if I ever get the chance to meet him, I will. I'll go, do an autograph signing or something and just say hi. But the guy doesn't owe me anything. And so what the letter was, it was just a thank you. It was just a thank you to him. It was like from top to bottom, I explained my story. And then I said, hey, it means an extreme amount to me and a lot of other fans that you have. That you've probably, he knows the way he's impacted a lot of people's lives. There's probably a lot of people that have a story like I do. But, man, thank you for that. Thank you for everything you did. Thank you for the way you handled the game. Thank you for the way you handled yourself. Thank you for coming back and signing cards. Thank you for everything you did. And it was really a close-ended letter. So there's really no surprise I didn't really get a response. But I said some things in that I wanted to get through to him. Like, hey, thank you so much. And
you know what? At the end of the day, at least he got the letter. So that's all that matters, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the same time with him, he's still a rock star, man. A lot of people.
Oh, yeah, he's still rocking it. That's for sure. I would agree.
If he shows up anywhere in California, especially San Francisco, it's a mob. So, yeah, I'm good with just getting my point across the table. Like, hey, you did this for me. I hope you feel good about it. I hope you feel good about your career. That's kind of the tone I took in the letter.
So let's say hypothetically that you've got all the Lincecum cards you could possibly ever collect. Okay. What would happen next? What would you collect someone else? Have you thought that far ahead? What would you do?
I get that a lot. Who I would collect besides Lincecum. For me, it's really only people that strike me. It would probably be Russell Wilson, if anything, eventually. I love.
You mean not somebody from the Kansas City Chiefs? What's going on?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a Seahawks fan. Ironically, Lincecum is a Seahawks fan too. Lincecum's from Seattle, so we have that in common. But Wilson's the other person that stuck out to me in my life and has made the most impact in my life. If my life wouldn't have been set up in a way where I kind of needed a Lincecum in my life,
sure.
I don't know if I would even still be collecting cards. I don't know if this would be a thing for me. But with that being said, what I'm getting at by that is it's going to need to be someone that inspires me, definitely, because the two guys that I'm most a fan of, they inspired me in so many ways, other than sports, especially other than sports. And sports, obviously, they're fun to watch. But it would have to be someone that comes along, and I just like their vibe. I like his vibe. I like his message. I like his style. I like how he plays the game on, off the field. I like everything about it. It would have to be something like that. And I could tell you one thing. With the amount of stress this card cost me, I'm gonna go for the super auto first of that person. If I
from the get-go, yeah.
So.
Ameet, over to you.
Okay, so you've covered the 1 in a million, so we'll skip that one. You already talked about your advice on collecting a player, so we'll skip on that one. If someone wanted to get in touch with you, should they have a rare Lindsay card, how should they get a hold of you?
So definitely start with Instagram. I'm on there the most. Project 55 Trading. It's obviously right. Well, the camera again.
You got it. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
You can contact me that way. That's probably the best. And again, like take everything with a grain of salt. It just depends what it is. If I'm gonna like want to grab it, but man, if anybody pulls the 2020 Topps Dynasty logoman auto, that's payday.
Definitely let Tom know for sure.
Hey, that's essentially the same thing as hitting like a Trout logoman auto at this point. Well, no, we'll not say that. It's like hitting a Gerard Dyson. Let's pretend it's like hitting a Gerard Dyson.
Nothing. It's worth nothing.
I'll give you $300 to $400 for it, roughly. Hopefully.
Before we get to our last question, I had a question regarding: do we know why he wore 55?
I was given to him. So in Major League Baseball, 55 is the scout rating for someone. If you get So pitchers have, the scouts rate every number. They give a number for every pitch you have. And so for pitchers, a 55 on so I'll put in like, oh, can you please use that word in a sentence? All right. So Lincecum has a 55 fastball, 60. That was my dog.
Lincecum likes 55.
Ball, 65 curveball, and a 75 changeup. That means all those pitches that he has are major league ready. And so when they gave him number 55, that's just the number they gave him because they thought that he was surefire to make the majors. And so they gave him
Interesting. I did not know that.
That's a good tip to know when you're watching baseball and seeing the prospects come up to see what number they get.
A lot of people get the number 55. That's probably why.
Huh.
Interesting. So we're at I didn't realize how fast time flew. We're at an hour and 17 mark. Normally we're at the hour mark, but this was fun. We get to ask our favorite question at the end of the show. But before we go there, I just want to remind everyone that next week we have a double header. We have Brian McFarlane, broadcasting legend and Canadian stalwart, and also the person who wrote Peter Puck, the hockey book. Is right. If you read that book, you're probably older. He's still an author, so we'll talk to him about some of his latest books and latest accomplishments. And right after that, on the 25th, we have Tony from the Hobby Vault. So excited to do a doubleheader next week, and then want to direct our attention back to this show. Want to thank Tom for coming and explaining his passions. You definitely conveyed your passion fairly strongly, and I'm looking forward to seeing if you get that card. And if you do, we'll document it here that you got your last piece of your collection. So last question, and I think you've answered this indirectly about 7 ways, but we'll ask again. What inspires you?
Inspires me, I guess direction. We'll go with direction inspires me. We'll take one out of Russell Wilson's book here. He lives by the 3 P's. I think I have these right. Live life with good perspective, purpose, and passion. I think something along those. The first 2 are right. The third one I'm hazy on. So with anything I do in my life, I make sure, like I said, with a lot of the deals I do, a lot of the moves I make, whether that's what I'm buying at the grocery store, whether that's a Lincecum card I'm buying, whether that's something I'm doing during the day, I make sure that it's going in a direction that's right for me. And it's really easy to get distracted and get sidetracked, especially when you're working like a 9 to 5, which is most people in the world. And it's really easy to get distracted. It's easy to get down. It's easy to get off course. But I put a lot of thought into most things I do, and sometimes to a fault. Sometimes I'm an overthinker, but for me, I always want to have a great perspective on what I do. And, there you go. Persevere, perspective, and always have great purpose. There you go. I appreciate that. Persevere. So always have those three things in all of your daily aspects. And another thing he would always say, try and find one thing to get better at every day. Whether it's very small or very big, just try to get better in any sort of fashion that you can. Get better, get better, get better. And so that's almost to a fault the kind of life I live. And you see with the collection I have, I want to make it better in any sort of way I can. And any move I make, I want it going in that direction. Don't want to veer off course. I want to get straight to the point of what I want. So
Excellent.
that's what I would say.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you again. You hang out there, Tom. We're just going to end the broadcast.
And one last comment I want to show from
Another
Dennis.
comment?
He said, if the cost
Dennis.
is worth it to you, then that's what matters. Trust me, I know.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%.
Cool. I'm going to end the show, and we'll see you all next week for our doubleheader. Cheers,
Awesome.
folks.
Good night, folks.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was really fun.
Welcome. Thank you.
See you guys.